What's going on, everybody? Chaseontwowheels here for another 1 month review. In front of me, I've got CFMoto's 450NK. This is the naked brother to CFMoto's 450SS, which is their sport model. So I've had this thing for about a month, and today we are going to be finding out what I've thought about this bike as I've treated it as my daily rider for the last month. We're going to get into all the nitty-gritty of what I like and don't like about this motorcycle. You guys stick around, and at the end of the video, I'll let you know how sad I'm going to be when I let it go back. Now guys, speaking of our 450SS, I will say we're not giving this bike away, but we are doing a giveaway of a 450SS and a 300SS over at WBRGarage.com. That's our website where we have a membership there, we have merch, and anything you get on that website will get you entries to win our 450 or our 300SS. So it's a super awesome deal. You can actually get entries for as little as $5. So if you guys want to win a motorcycle, you guys can go check out that. Now, if you guys have never watched our 1 month reviews, but a lot of you are probably familiar with our first ride videos. First ride videos are my quick thoughts on the bike. The 1 month reviews, I've been putting the miles on this thing and really figuring out what I think about it. So if you guys just want to know the instant info on it and what I thought about it for the first time, go check that video out. I'll put a link for it up here in the corner. But yeah, today is going to be more of a deep dive into this bike. So if you guys are looking for the general overview of the bike, first ride is going to be more your flavor. Now, I personally like doing my 1 month reviews, but kind of a pros and cons list. So I'm going to take you down the pros, and then I'm going to take you down the cons. But one of the things I wanted to point out in the cons list before we got going are the looks. Now, I personally prefer the 450SS over this bike, and as you guys know, these bikes share a lot of similarities. I like the looks of this bike on the 800NK, which is basically this thing's big brother, but for some reason, the looks they're not super doing it for me on this motorcycle. That is not going to affect how much I enjoy riding it, though, which we will get into. Now, I will say this bike has a lot of neat features. We've got LED lights up front. It does a little turn-on sequence. I left the blinker on. I'm awesome. And it's got a lot of the same features, but I think the 450SS just looks so good. It makes me see this bike and I'm like, man, but I like your brothers. I like your brother way more than I like you. I'm sorry. But anyway, that's the looks. Just do a little walk around. That's one of the things that I noticed first thing when after I've been riding this bike. You know, you go out to look at it and to go out for a ride, and every time I look at it, I'm like, I kind of wish you looked like the 450SS. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That is not going to affect what we think about the ride. Speaking of the ride, it sounds like this. Sounds solid, dude. For a 450, you kidding me? All right, boys, what do you say we get going? I'm going to have to make sure I get my visor closed so you guys don't get too much wind noise today, because my God, it has not been this windy in a while. This bike is so fun, dude. The first thing we got to talk about is how playful this little thing is. So guys, the number one characteristic I think any of you guys that try out the 450NK are going to realize from the jump is how playful of a motorcycle this is. With its really torquey engine, it's very easily flicked back and forth. It's lightweight. It very much, if you guys have experience riding a Yamaha MT-07, which I definitely do, I've spent thousands of miles on an MT-07, this bike feels like an MT-07 took a little shrinking pill, got tiny, lost half of its cc's, and it's here. The power is really punchy. It's playful. The suspension is a little too soft, and we'll talk more about that later. But CFMoto has created just a really fun package of a motorcycle, and I think it'll take a mile on this thing for anybody to realize that. It's kind of hard to define playful, right? Like, there's so many individual little characteristics that a bike needs to possess to make it feel playful. But this bike and the MT-07 are two of probably the most playful bikes on the market, and I love that, honestly. It just makes for such a fun riding experience. And also, you don't have to take it too seriously. What the hell is happening over here? Oh, they're repaving this road? Oh, we love that. We hate construction, but we love that. All right, so guys, next up on the pros list is something I noticed after riding this bike directly after my 450SS, is my 450SS levers seem to wiggle a little more than I really wish they did. Now, these levers and everything about the levers look really similar to my 450SS, but the levers seem to wiggle less here. So, love that. Not a huge fan of wiggling levers, obviously. But whatever it is, something might be tightened up or whatever, but I do appreciate that. Even though those levers on the 450SS are coming off soon. You'll have to subscribe and watch the WBRG videos for that, though. All right, guys, so next up, let's dig more into this power plant. Now, this is the 450 parallel twin, hypothetically the exact same power plant that's inside of the 450SS, but it's no way the exact same. It's got to be tuned different or something, because I've spent a good bit of miles on both bikes, but it's hypothetically, technically, legally, whatever other E's I can add, they're the same engine. They do not feel the same at all. They have tuned this engine to be much punchier down low, which is a cop in front of me, and I will maintain the speed limit. Yes, I will. All right, guys, so yeah, the engine technically the same, feeling very much different. I don't know if it's a tune. It's one hell of a tune, my guy, because the level of punch that they're able to get out of this engine with just a tune, that would be incredible. I would, like, hats off to them. So you guys that know more technical stuff will have to let me know. Is it just a tune? Can it change that much of a characteristic? Now, if you're asking me which one I prefer, it's kind of hard to say, because there are times where I do like the punchiness of this engine, but there are other times where I would like a little more, what do you call it, finesse out of the 450SS style. Woohoo! This one is far easier to wheelie, though. I'm not saying if you should or shouldn't. I'm just letting you know what's up. All right, guys, and next up, we can talk about one of the other pros that I really like about this bike, and that is these mirrors. Now, if you look at them, they're the exact same ones as the 450SS has, but the only difference, how much gravel we got? Minimal-ish. That power line is down. Holy shit, guy. That would suck. Same mirrors, but as you guys can tell, way closer. Now, one of the things I was kind of worried about, like the mirrors on the 450SS, I love those mirrors. They do a great job. But the thing is, they're way far out in front of you. I can barely reach them while I'm riding. These are obviously right above my hands, and I was worried they weren't going to work as well, because obviously if they're farther away, you can get a better angle or whatever looking behind you. These mirrors, I'm happy to say, function super well. They have a lot of adjustability, way more than they kind of look like they have, and they work fantastic. Love those mirrors. I honestly probably wouldn't even get any different mirrors, because they're integrated with turn signals and everything, so it's like, I don't know, it's just like a complete package. I wouldn't want to mess with that if I owned this motorcycle. And now, the final thing I really wanted to touch on, because there's a lot of good about this bike, but it's hard to go over everything in one single video. The next thing, is there anybody coming behind me? There's not. This is a 450cc motorcycle with traction control. And let me tell you, if I've ever ridden the motorcycle, there it is, TCS, traction control system, you can turn it off very easily. Now, when you turn this off, I will say that this might just be a 450. And you might say to yourself, Chase, why does a 450 need traction control? It's because, like I told you, they changed the mapping, because this engine is a wheelie machine when you turn the traction control off. It has so much punchy power, and it has to have traction control. Now, if you're brand new to riding, you might not need that, or you very much might, because you don't have that clutch and throttle finesse yet. You know what I mean? It takes time to build that ability, and until you have that, you might accidentally pop the clutch, not mean to, and then boom, you're doing a wheelie on accident. Or if you know what you're doing and you're popping the clutch and this front wheel comes up so fast. And that's one of the things that makes this bike like a little MT-07. The MT-07 that bike feels at home on one wheel. This bike feels the same way. I think that's just part of that punchy power, soft suspension. Everything just makes sense when you do that. Am I going to get hit by a car? That car seems to be going really fast. Anyway. Oh my God. A little clutch pop. Front wheel comes up, no issue. So, if you're looking for an entry-level motorcycle to learn to wheelie on, I don't know if there's a better one on the market. That being said, make sure to only wheelie in closed areas, and Chris put other stuff on the screen to make people understand that I'm not telling them to wheelie, even though it really can. I can't wink at you right now, but I feel like I need to. Another one of the good things about the traction control that you just saw that we can also talk about is the screen. Now, the 450NK is going to have the same screen as the 450SS. Here, I'll pull off for a second so I can show you guys better. Very responsive screen. As you guys can see, we can change info in the top and the bottom. We hit enter and we go into the other settings. You can pair this bike with your phone and an app on the phone. I've got a whole video pairing my 450SS with the app. You guys can watch that up there if you want to learn more about that. But I have been incredibly impressed with the screen. It even has different options for the layout. You've got classic and you got concession. I couldn't pronounce that on my 450 SS video either. Concession? But everything's super simple. I can really appreciate this overspeed alarm. We're going to keep that on, and we're going to see. I've never tested that out. We're going to see what overspeed alarm is. But yeah, you can change all of this stuff super simply. I really appreciate such a easily laid out menu. And especially, guys, this is a TFT full color display on a 450. I don't understand how CFMoto does what they do. If I'm going to be honest, I don't even care. I just appreciate that you can get so much value out of these smaller bikes that they offer. It's awesome. Let's get into the cons. Oh wait, what's a con? I can wheelie this thing all over the place. I'm happy. If you guys want to see somebody wheelie the absolute shit out of this bike, go check out my buddy Jake the Garden Snake. Very good friend. And that dude wheelies the absolute shit out of his. He got one as a loaner for a while too. I think he just swapped his for the 800NK that Spite had. Both cool channels. You guys should definitely go check them out. Spite's Corner, Jake the Garden Snake. Shout out to the homies. All right, so let's get into the cons of the 450NK. Now, the first con I'm going to tell you, before you make a comment, just let me continue talking. I do feel like the suspension on this bike might be a little too soft. And now I know you're probably going to be like, Chase, you started this video saying that you love that the bike is playful. And I do. I don't take that back. But there are times where, kind of back there, where I'm really throwing the bike over. And it would be nice if I had a bit firmer of suspension. I don't want it to be too firm because I don't want it to take away from the playfulness of the motorcycle. But there are times where I just wish I was a little more planted, going back and forth. I don't know. It's a lower cost motorcycle, so I do realize that I can only ask for so much. But it's just something I wish I could have. I'm not saying I want adjustable suspension. I know that would be well outside of the of reality, right? There's no way you're getting adjustable suspension on a bike that MSRP's for, is this car turning or not? Okay. But yeah, long story short, I wish the suspension was just a smidge. I don't know what the mathematical increment for a smidge is, but I would like it to be a smidge more firm. All I'm saying. Next up, speaking of firm, is the seat on this bike. I believe it's the very similar seat to the 450SS, and I feel the same way about the seat. It's fine. It's not terrible. But the thing is, on the 450SS, it was one of the modifications that I just upgraded. I'm pretty sure that video has come out now. CFMoto makes a tall seat, and for the 450SS, I imagine that seat would work on this bike. You should go check that video out for the mods that I did on that bike. It changed the game. Put a taller seat on it. It was way more comfortable. I feel like this bike needs the exact same seat because this bike actually might need it even more. Because if you guys noticed, you guys can probably see from that front camera, on the NK, I'm more upright than I am on the 450SS. So that means more of my weight is on my butt, which means the seat is even more important because there's more weight on it. You know, when you're leaned over a bike like you are on the SS, you can hold your weight with your legs more, and you don't put as much weight on the seat. So I do think you'll get fatigued by this seat more. I might have to double check after I record this video, but the tall seat on the SS, I would almost bet can fit on this. And if that's the case, listen, you need to go watch the mods video for the 450 SS, but let me just give you a little sneak peek. The seat is freaking great. Absolutely, 15 out of 10, absolute requirement. And if it fits this, definitely get it. Now, speaking of the seating position, I feel like me as a 5'10 rider with a 32-inch inseam, I fit on this bike really well, but big asterisk, if you're a bit taller than I am, I would say, you know, if you're 6'1 and up, somewhere around there, I'm not saying you're not going to fit on this bike. What I will recommend is you find your closest CFMoto dealer and go sit on one of these before you make your decision, because hopefully we can pull up some camera car footage of me riding this bike. My legs are pretty tucked in. This is one of those motorcycles where you are sitting inside the motorcycle. You know, if you're not familiar with that, generally motorcycles feel like you're either sitting in them or on top of them. And the 450 SS is the same way. You feel like you're sitting in it. This bike, you feel the same. And that makes your bottom half a little more crunched up because of where the rear sets are, which is kind of weird because your top half is like super flowy and chill and upright, and your bottom half is kind of tensed up. It makes it easy to hold the tank with your legs, but you know, if you have long legs or something like that, definitely go sit on one of these before you make a purchase decision, because if you're not comfortable on the bike and you have a problem like getting your legs up and in position, that is going to be kind of frustrating over the long term, and I think might lead to you not liking the motorcycle. So like I said, you never know until you really sit on one, so go find one in person and check it out before you make a purchase decision. All right, guys, so final thing, and this is more of me looking out for my beginner homies. This is technically a con, I guess. It's the fact that this bike does not have rider modes. I know. You guys are going to say, Chase, it's a 450. It has no need for rider modes. It's so slow. And if you are an experienced rider, then yes, I agree. This bike has absolutely no need for rider modes. It's got a very fun amount of power, and if you have a lot of experience, you can have a phenomenal time on it. But what I'm thinking about is the guy or girl that has literally never ridden something with a manual transmission before. They've never used a clutch, and they buy this motorcycle and they're using this bike to learn to do all those things on. Because if you rewind time and remember when you were learning to ride a motorcycle, you probably didn't have the finesse that you do now with your clutch hand, right? You didn't have that fine minute adjustment. And I remember when I started riding, there was a lot of situations where, especially when I was trying to ride in the wintertime and I couldn't really feel my hands, where you're letting the clutch out and you're not getting to that friction zone, you get frustrated, you just dump it. I had multiple situations where I did a 12 o'clock wheelie from a stop and literally filled my fans full of poop. So that is a scary situation. And the reason I say all of that is because this bike has the level of torque to where if you mess up and aren't as smooth on the clutch, you will very easily wheelie it. And this bike, the way it wheelies, it comes up pretty freaking fast, which would be absolutely terrifying for a more entry-level rider. So this being a 450 motorcycle, I do foresee a lot of newer riders look into this, especially with the price point that CFMoto puts on their motorcycles. And it would be nice to have a rain mode on this bike that just kind of tones it down some for those kind of guys. And that way they could, you know, learn on this bike while they don't have the full punchiness of the power. You know what I mean? Like, I want it to have like a sport mode, so you've got like a Mike Tyson situation, and then you need to have some sort of like entry-level boxer position. You know what I mean? That way, if you get punched in the face, it's going to hurt, but it's not going to knock you out. I feel like that's the mode we're needing here for my new rider, boys and girls. So guys, overall, over the month that I've had this bike, I feel like the best thing I can say about it is how fun and playful it's been. I generally find myself enjoying the ride on this more than I do my 450 because of how I like the handlebar position, I like the uprightness. But then I look at this bike and I look at my 450 and I'm like, I love the way the 450 looks, the 450 SS, of course. But overall, if you're looking for an entry-level bike, you don't want to be leaned over, and you want a lot of really awesome features that are normally unheard of in the smaller CC class, this is most definitely your pick. I can't think of another bike this low CC that has traction control, that has this punchy of an engine. I just think overall, any of you guys that pick this up, even if you're a more experienced rider, if you maybe have a bigger Super Sport, but you want something fun to play around with in the city, you guys would absolutely die over this thing because you're gonna have the experience to really open this thing up. And I think there's a lot of joy to be had with this bike if you have that level of experience. Anyways, guys, I'm Chaseontwowheels. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hopefully it was helpful for you guys if you are deciding on if this is right for you, this 450NK for your next bike. Outro crew, let me know, baby MT-07, is that what we're feeling with this thing? And if so, for you, is that a pro or a con? Let me know in the comments down below. Damn it, I almost made it. What is happening? Why do you keep turning? That is, what? Are you guys watching this with me? What? Okay, now we're in this. We're invested. Are you sure you're turning? Are you 100% sure? Oh my goodness, that was terrible. All right, guys, I'm done. Jesus Christ, we survived the Tesla. All right, guys, y'all ride safe. Hopefully this video helped out, and I'll see you on the next one. Later. I might still be hiccuping. Who knows? Oh my God, what is happening? My body is just slowly shutting down. All right, guys. Bye. I'm gonna see if I can get all these. Fuck me. All these cameras off.